Hello and welcome to Vikings Rant. This is Nathan Schulte.
I'm Dirk Umbenhauer.
And I'm Isaac Logelman.
And we are heading into week 13 of the NFL. And we are very excited to be here, Dirk.
Yes, we had a great Thanksgiving. My favorite part of Thanksgiving was seeing the sights and sounds of Chicago with my family. Nathan, what was yours?
Well, my favorite was probably eating all the delicious food, but more importantly, watching the Vikings eat Thanksgiving dinner in the end zone after they scored a touchdown, or more specifically, Case Keenum ran in for his first touchdown of the season to complete the destruction of the Detroit Lions.
Oh, yes, and Isaac, was that your favorite part of Thanksgiving?
You know, to be honest, what was great is we had my whole family, 8 of us. There was a wife in there, so 8 of us.
The wife.
Not my wife.
Oh, okay.
My brother's wife. I wish I had one of
anyway.
those. Not wet. Not yet. Not yet. Anyway, we were all in my brother's very small apartment, so it was just tight and cramped. And yet, my enthusiasm for the Vikings allowed my family to just buy in, and we all watched the entire game, even though they did not want to watch it. And I didn't know I had that much power.
Well, that's a
in my
lot better
family.
than me watching the game with my father alone in the basement.
That just sounds a little creepy, but I'm glad you had fun.
Nothing creepy about it, just a father and son watching a football game.
Adorable.
Yeah. But yes, that would be probably... We had great moments over Thanksgiving, but we are thankful that we finally beat the Lions!
Yes!
Also, on Thanksgiving, last exciting thing, I got a $9 dress shirt on Black Thursday, because they go into Thursday now.
You know what?
Oh.
I would say I don't care about that, and I would be right. Isaac, you have an apology to make to everybody for your egregious accusation that the Vikings were going to lose to the Lions for the 4th time in a row, which we being Dirk and I, said was impossible, and you completely ignored us.
To be fair, with 3, maybe 4 minutes to go in the game, you both, do not deny, you both thought we were going to blow it.
No, I did not. I had complete confidence.
Yeah,
I admit I did.
Whatever.
I did not. The second I saw...
I apologize, but it was too close for comfort. And to be fair, 2 weeks ago, when you said that we were going to lose, we had a much better win, more convincing than we did last
Why
week.
didn't you have to
True.
apologize?
I think you apologize to our fans right now.
I did not have to apologize because mine was not as rude to a fan base that has struggled against this team for so long, and yours was just horrible. You got to give them hope against these teams that we just have to beat. And to be fair, Dirk, I said we had 2 must-wins coming out of the bye. We won them both.
Yes, we did, Nathan, and now that we have all the must-wins down, they might as well... You know what, I'm not going to say division champions because I could jinx it.
Hey, Dirk, who am I? The last 5 games of the season are must-wins. Gotta win them or we're going to be done.
I said the middle 5.
I'm Nathan.
Oh, Nathan. Oh, you're Nathan.
These games were not all must-wins.
Okay.
Very glad we won them, but I'm just saying.
The
we
last
don't
2
need to win
games
them.
were must-wins. These next 2 games, if we win them, we'll secure not only the division, but definitely the number 2 spot in the playoffs.
If we win the next 2 games, we have a bye.
We have a bye, that I guarantee, because we will lose at most 1 of the last 3.
And we have all the
lose one.
tiebreakers then. We have
Yes.
the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Rams.
And the only way we lose one of the last 3 is if Aaron Rodgers comes back.
And
I actually think Cincinnati might be the hardest of the 3.
Possibly.
They've had some good games, and Andy Dalton's playing well lately.
Possibly. But you know who's also playing well? Case Keenum continuing some excellent play on Thanksgiving, Nathan. 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, and another week, just like the Rams, where he'd been looking shaky, didn't make a ton of throws where you were like, whoa, that could have been picked. Very consistent.
yeah, Case Keenum had a good game, as hard as it is to continue saying this, because we know that we do not trust him, really. We know he is going to screw up, but maybe he doesn't, you know? Maybe this is a new Case Keenum. He's turned a corner in his career. He's no longer a journeyman. He's ready to be a franchise quarterback. We thought maybe Sam Bradford was going to have a Kurt Warner-esque rise in his career. He will not, because he is quite literally made of glass, and that glass has been cracked and glued together so many times that it cannot even hold water anymore. But
Humpty Dumpty looks at Sam Bradford and he's like, wow, I have been put together less than you.
it's true. Sam Bradford, his career, mark my words, is over.
And with Case Keenum, I think even if he's not this good the rest of his career, at this point, you got to say he's going to have a great one-and-done year. I don't see him fizzling out this year. He's just on too much of a hot streak. He's been consistent the last 3 weeks. He hasn't made too many mistakes, like we're saying. And so I think, he may be a great quarterback the rest of his career, but even if he's not, he'll be a great.
I could see him fizzling out this year.
I don't think.
I know you could. There's some great throws and some great plays that kept drives alive and won us those games. For example, first drive of the game, touchdown drive, third down, Keenum steps up in the pocket against the pass rush. Beautiful throw to Adam Thielen over the middle to keep the drive going. Case, under pressure, gets wailed, I'm pretty certain, by Demir Whitehead there on that touchdown late in the first half to Kyle Rudolph. Still throws a beautiful ball. And then second half, when we were starting to lose it and we needed it the most, he avoids a sack, throws it, gets the first down, and then makes a good throw to Stephon Diggs, who reaches for that first down line and gets it.
Stephon Diggs had a lot of really good plays for us in the fourth quarter that helped to secure the win. Now, Dirk, I would argue this game was a little bit closer than maybe it needed to be. Probably because we left 4 points on the field.
Yes, our special teams, let's just say it sucked. Because first off, we had a field goal blocked, first play of the game. First try of the game. No, it was an extra point. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday. Sometimes on Tuesdays, it's still early in the week. I'm getting my vibe together. I'll be good by Friday. Anyway, we had that happen. We had a mishold that led to a block on a field goal. And then end of the game, we almost got blocked, but Darius Slay was offsides.
Well, I would not really even call that an almost, considering he was running off sides for at least a second before the ball was snapped. So
I think my family ate our whole Thanksgiving dinner between the time he started running and the snap of the ball.
That's an excellent point.
That's
Yes,
he
was
point.
so offsides. It was just terrible. But congratulations for them wasting the energy to return that ball for a touchdown. Good for them.
He probably lost a couple pounds so he could eat more that night.
It's true. Okay, so
Adam Thielen reaching at 1,000 yards.
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen, and now we can say for sure Vikings have at least 1,000-yard receiver, though Michael Floyd could come up and be another one.
What?
Oh, wait, no. Stephon Diggs.
And even on an off day, though, Adam Thielen under 90 yards. Come on, man.
Yeah.
8 for 89,
what are you doing?
I'm pretty certain. 8 for 89.
What an idiot.
And
we thought at the beginning of the season Michael Floyd might take over that number 2 spot from Adam Thielen because, Adam Thielen, he's white, he's kind of an undrafted guy, so, typically
that's... race into this?
Well, I'm just saying, typically that's not the profile you look for in a great NFL wide receiver, at least not in recent years. But he has proven himself.
What?
And Michael
Wes Welker?
Okay, well,
Julian Edelman?
That's like 2 names. You can think of 2 names. Yeah, name a black one, okay? That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be racist here. I'm just saying typically that's why we were judging them, we're a little bit racist in judging Adam Thielen. But you can be a great wide receiver.
I will say, not because of race, but Adam Thielen did not look the part of what he has become. That's what I'll say here.
Michael Floyd, we thought coming into the season he might take over for Adam Thielen. He's had great years in the past, but he has been limited in production, and we have to continue to look for him. I think, especially as we go later into the season, he could still show up in a few games, Dirk.
Maybe, Nathan, but right now that doesn't seem to be the case. And Michael Floyd, this is the only podcast where you can hear 1 minute about Michael Floyd. Also, going back, though, Kyle Rudolph, though, he was struggling this season. He hasn't really gone over 50 yards. He had a breakout day. 2 touchdowns, 63 yards on 4 receptions.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph had a good day, and Stephon Diggs is slowly but surely starting to get going again after he injured his groin for the 2nd season in a row.
Yeah.
We thought for sure this was the season he was going to be healthy all year. No siree, Babaroo. He was not. He missed 2 games for the groin injury, and now hopefully he's back in full force. He could have a good game against the Atlanta Falcons next week, a team that has a good defense, but not a dominant defense.
I would say about even with Detroit, maybe even less so of a defense than Detroit, but we'll get into that later. Big part, though, we could have our right tackle Mike Remmer as our best run blocker next week, and even though we ran for 136 yards, we need him because besides that first drive in the second half, Nathan, we really did not look that good running the football.
That's true. We got, 80 yards on that one drive?
75.
75 yards. That was impressive. all led the way by a big Latavius Murray run. Latavius Murray is starting to get hot finally after he was coming back from that injury early in the season. He's really starting to get going. Still no Dalvin Cook, and we can't wait for him to come back next year. But he's doing a comparable job with Jerick McKinnon of making up for those yards. And we've actually been averaging more yards rushing per game than we did when we had Dalvin Cook.
Right, and the funny part about that, Nathan, we've talked a lot about the offense getting to our defensive success. That one drive was more rushing yards than the Detroit Lions had the entire football game.
Yeah, the Detroit Lions are bad at running the football, and that's really all you have to say about that. They cannot run the football. It's laughable. I laughed at it because they suck, and that's all I have to say about that.
15 for 53 on the ground for them. I laughed really hard when they tried handing it off to Amir Abdullah, and Amir Abdullah couldn't hold on to the football, even though he wasn't touched, and he fumbled and gave it away to Daniel Hunter.
Yes, for once, the Vikings win the turnover battle against the Detroit Lions after years of Sam Bradford throwing picks, us fumbling the ball 3 times in a game,
and taking it and
give them the victory. Oh,
not to mention Detroit took advantage of a kid who was crippled, but that's
how
another
dare
story.
they?
Anyway.
But also with the running backs for Detroit, I am just fascinated. Matthew Stafford's been there several years, and they haven't been able to give him anything in the running game. They haven't had a 100-yard rusher in 63.
Since Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush was the last person who ran for over 100 yards in a game for Detroit.
Adrian Peterson had a good year in 2015, right? He leaves last year. It took us 1 year to get a good running game back. There are people out there who can run the football. Why can't the Lions?
Yeah, I'm not
give him
sure
someone?
too because they don't.
They don't have a bad
offensive line. It's good. They're just not making the moves in free agency. I mean, a running back heavy draft. So many good running backs. They draft none. What?
Who did they even draft?
What were they thinking? I don't understand. That makes no sense. Latavius Murray was available. Great signing by us. Just awesome. Jerick McKinnon has had a 100-yard game. No, he was close.
Bears?
I don't think he got
it
100.
against the Bears?
I think he was like 93 or something.
Oh, okay.
Because I was reading some article where they're like, the Vikings have produced 3 96-yard rushers this season. I'm like, oh, weird. It's almost like 96 was the lowest rushing yard total of a running back.
You gotta love stats like that.
Why is it 96? That's not a significant number. Oh, because we almost had 300, but Jerick McKinnon screwed us over.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, maybe that Lions offensive line though isn't that great because Everson Griffin destroyed Taylor Decker. Everson Griffin saw his kid get born and got extra motivated and told Taylor Decker that he was going to quote unquote stink that day. And Taylor Decker did stink, thankfully, because Everson got back on top of the quarterback where he belongs.
Now, you said stink in quotes. Did Everson Griffin actually say stink?
No, he didn't, but I would just assume that Everson Griffin would tell him something like that, but with a few more words that we can't use on this airway.
I'm sure he did. Yes, Everson Griffin, he had a very, very big day. We got our pass rush back. Danielle Hunter got a sack, and Everson Griffin had 2, and he's looking... And he is freaking good.
He's tied for the lead.
He could easily get to 20 sacks this year if he has even one big game, which, Matt Khalil coming up, he's going to destroy Matt Khalil, and at least one other team has a really bad starting left tackle that Everson Griffin will probably feast on this year.
Do you think he pushes for 20 this year?
So. What?
Do you think he gets 20 this year?
I think he has a good chance at it. I don't think it's out of the question at this point.
I'm going to go 18.
I think it's a good call.
I think 20. Maybe he even breaks the single-season sack record set by Michael Strahan.
What do you think gets him into the talk for Defensive Player of the Year? What is
Over
a pick
15
6.
sacks?
If he gets a pick 6, he will be in the talk.
I called that once for my bold prediction.
Very,
did not happen. He didn't even play that game. That was embarrassing.
Anyway.
Really awkward for you.
One place, though, where we did struggle this time, while we had a great run game and pass rush, we did not have a great pass defense in that football game. Matthew Stafford does throw that pick late. Xavier Rhodes tipped him in the air, but before that, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was limping around though late. I'd say that was a big key to getting them to preventing a comeback in the fourth quarter. Was Stafford started limping after that 1 touchdown throw, which he got hit by Hunter, I believe. And Marvin Jones had a day. 6 catches for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Rhodes had the pick, but he did not look like himself.
Yeah, Xavier Rhodes, I don't know, maybe he was resting up, even though he gets an extra bye for Julio Jones. He knows he has it coming up this week. He wants to shut him down. I'm talking 0 catches for Julio Jones. That is Xavier Rhodes' dream next week, and I think that's why he dropped this game against Marvin Jones. Maybe he doesn't respect Marvin Jones, which... understandable. Not really much to respect there. He's a tiny guy and just fast and okay at catching, Why would you respect him? But unfortunately, it did not prove fruitful in this game. Marvin Jones had 2 touchdowns, which kind of...
including an amazing catch.
Yeah, and there was a lot of bad referee calling in favor of the Detroit Lions, which was almost the entire reason that their stats look semi-decent in the past.
Because here's my opinion on the referee calling. If that pass interference is called on Stephon Diggs in the third quarter, it's 27-13 at this point. We would have had the ball at their 20-25, at least gotten 3 on that drive, probably settled the game away. I think that was a big momentum shifter when that didn't get called, and that allowed Detroit to get back into the game. And the refs were like, sure, we might as well allow them to.
Yeah, why not? I mean, the Detroit Lions are so good. They're going to win the division, so why not let them back in the game?
I mean, how in the world is Case Keenum flicking a ball out after he gets sacked taunting, but Ezekiel Anza rolling on the ground isn't taunting? They're both not taunting.
That's part of the new celebration thing.
They're both not taunting, but I'm saying when you just sit on your butt and you flick a ball
that was
in
a
no
bad
particular
call.
direction.
That was a really bad call.
It was weird. He was so confused.
I was so confused.
But even Keenum was just like, it wasn't even mad. It was confused.
Yeah,
I didn't do anything.
It was a bad call. And you know what? Anytime you can get Mike Zimmer to say something about refs during a press conference, it was a bad game. And that call right before halftime where they went and they reviewed that play.
We're talking about for the folks at home.
Kenny Galladay.
Kenny Galloway catch.
Yes. How do you look at that and say, yep, undeniably a catch? The ball bounced when he got to the ground, and you could clearly see it touch the ground. I don't get it.
It definitely looked like that, Nathan.
I mean, granted, I might be an idiot, and I think several instances may prove that is right. But still, I don't understand how, that was no way that's a catch. And
it was so bad.
It was a bad drive by the Vikings defense. To be fair, I think they were probably a little off guard after that. They were so flabbergasted that they let that go. Trey Wayne's maybe even more impressive than Xavier Rhodes. I mean,
he played well against Golden Tate too. Who's not a bad wide receiver.
Golden Tate was shut down. Thank God. Because
literally, he had 4 catches for 7 yards. That is called Wayne's world is closed.
Wayne's world is closed.
Wayne's world is closed. We have roads closed. The roads were actually open on Thursday, which was bad, but at least Wayne's world was closed.
Maybe it could just be Wayne's world. Like, it's Wayne's world.
I mean, yeah.
You can't take the same nickname for 2 people.
Is Wayne's world Wayne's world
maybe,
probably is.
Maybe
right.
Wayne,
copyright.
Trey Waynes goes up to him and says, "You in Wayne's world now."
Oh, I like that name.
I
like that.
Yeah. Wayne's world. That could be it. Yeah, Trey Waynes is looking really, really good, and he's going to need it because the Falcons coming up do have a very good number 2 wide receiver. So
yes, that team is good on offense.
You know who had a bad day?
Who?
Terrence Newman.
Yes. Nathan, quote, Terrence Newman should retire now.
Yeah, and, here's the thing, Dirk. The Vikings, needless to say, are going to have to either draft a young cornerback this year. I know Mackenzie Alexander and Trey Waynes are still developing and will be even a next level up next year, but they need to get at least one more veteran player who's a cornerback on this squad. Maybe he's in decline, but who can offer some wisdom to these guys if Terrence Newman does indeed retire this year.
Yes.
Because they're going to be missing that in the backfield.
Yes, we are a lot, and I think that they will look for someone like that in the off season.
Because they will not have to look for offensive linemen, though they still should draft one because both Riley Reif and Mike Rimmers are old and in decline. So while we can count on them this year, probably next year, Dear God, please, we need to draft a left tackle and never draft a wide receiver in the first round ever again, because both Cordero Patterson and Laquan Treadwell have bared no fruit for us.
And those who have. 5th round and undrafted.
Yes, please go there for your wide receivers for your Vikings GM.
Yes.
But one last thing I'll say about this Vikings defense is that we made the stops when we had to. Detroit's going for it on 4th and 8, for example, from their 30. I was like, this seems like a stupid decision, but I'll go with it. Because we played great pass defense after a play where Golden Tate was open and Matthew Stafford just missed him, and we played tight coverage, tipped in the air just for Rhodes to pick it off and basically seal the game.
Yeah, that was a gorgeous pick by Xavier Rhodes. He tips it to himself, catches it, and he almost returned it for a pick 6 if some idiot doesn't come in front of him and trip him up. But
How
here's
mad
my
were you
thing.
during that?
I was a little upset, but at the same time, I didn't really care because the game was basically over after that pick. But here's my thing about that, Dirt. The Vikings are really not doing very well at creating turnovers this year. We are not in any terms leading the league. In fact, we're like in the middle of the pack in almost every category with turnovers. I feel like we have some coming our way in the last half of the season.
And that's the truest thing you're saying right here, because it's always a fact that turnovers aren't exactly consistent. Last year in the first 5 weeks, we were, I don't remember what it was, but we were like plus 12
Crazy
on turnovers.
numbers.
Yeah, something like that. Crazy.
And you go towards the mean. And so I'm not too worried in that, especially because we're winning, and I think those will pick up to kind of keep us around that average.
Especially with quarterbacks like Cam Newton, very pick prone.
Matt Ryan hasn't had a good season.
Matt Ryan has actually been more prone to picks than he did last year. Andy Dalton, I mean, he threw 5 picks in one game. That could happen again. Brett Hundley.
And then Mitchell Trubisky!
Oh, and Mitchell Trubisky will be on the field crying for his last game of the season.
He'll be like, I don't want to play football anymore. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that's a mark of a good defense, though. I mean, if you can do what the Vikings have done, I mean, especially to the Rams where you only forced 1 turnover and you held them to 7 points. This week we were dominating that game after that Diggs penalty defensively in the first half. If you can do that and then you start getting turnovers on top of it here later in the season, that's a sign of a good defense, because if you were just a turnover-prone defense, you could be like the New Orleans Saints, for example, who, when they force a lot of turnovers, they win, but when they don't, like this past Sunday against the Rams, they don't win the game.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't. To me, you just have to have a great defense. Turnovers are great, but you gotta have a solid base defense first. You can't live and die by forcing the turnover.
And you know what? Maybe those turnovers are coming in the playoffs.
Carson Wentz. That's who we're saving it for.
Watch out, buddy. All right, well, that's a lot of negatives, so it's time to get a little nice here on Vikings Rant. And to that, we turn to Isaac. And now it's time for Nice Words with Isaac.
Dirk and Nathan, as always, it is great to be here for Nice Words with Isaac, and I can't wait yet again because, man, oh man, there are a lot of nice things to say about these Minnesota Vikings. So this week for my nice words with Isaac, I'm going to go kind of on this week, but also just as something from the whole year that's been showing up lately especially, is Pat Shurmur and this Minnesota Vikings offense. So I'm officially giving it to Pat Shurmur this week because I am so impressed with what he's doing to our offense this year. Just straight up stats, we'll get past that in a second, but straight up stats, pretty amazing. 2017, some of the top offensive stats. Total yards. We're 5th in the league with 375. Up from last year, we were 28th in the league at 315 yards. Simple math, that's a 23 position increase or decrease depending on how you want to go, which is actually really, really impressive. And another thing with that is the top 4 in total yards are New England, the Saints, the Eagles, and the Rams. That's a pretty good group of 5 teams to be a part of. And I got to give that all to Pat Shurmur. He's bringing some great things in this past about a year and a half. He's been our offensive coordinator. Then also first downs. We're 4th in the league from 25th last year. Passing yards hasn't been that big of an increase, but we're 12th from 18th last year. That's in the top half of the league. And then finally, I think the most shocking and probably the most exciting improvement is this year, rushing yards per game and rushing yards as a whole. We're in 6th place in the league, 124.5 per game. Last year, Dirk, what were we in the league?
Last.
That's right, 32nd in the league, 75.3 yards. We've averaged 50 more yards per game this year. And that is something that certainly you can give credit to the players, but you got to give some credit to Pat Shurmur there. And the last 3 weeks here, we've gotten 400-plus yards of offense. We're just doing things in Minnesota that we haven't seen for several years. Finally, the offense is holding their own. The defense trusts the offense to do their job, whereas before that was not the case. And it's exciting to watch. You know, the defense, they always say offense sells tickets, defense wins games. Finally, we've got a little bit of both, all right? And I'm thrilled to see where the rest of the year can go. And I think the explosion of Case Keenum this year, I think the improvement of Adam Thielen, and I think for sure our running game has a large part to do with what Pat Shurmur's been doing. And I think he's going to get some big looks for possibly some head coaching jobs next year.
That wasn't the case. Case.
Please stop talking.
I don't get it, but it was the case.
And here's what makes me nervous about Isaac's line of thinking, and he already touched on this. It's getting to the point where we'd probably be shocked if Pat Shurmur is our offensive coordinator next year because of how many teams are looking at firing their head coach once again. I doubt the Browns are looking for a head coach again. And you know what? Maybe it's not quite as bad this year. I think a lot of the teams that have done poorly are going to look to their head coach again. I mean, you look at the bottom three. The Browns, I think, are sticking with Hugh Jackson again. They're going to give him maybe one more year, and if he does this again, then he's gone. Maybe mid-season.
Fascinating. In most careers, if you, I don't know how you would assess wins and losses, but if you go 26 in your first 2 years of your job, you are gone. So good for Hugh Jackson for holding a job there.
Yeah, well, the Browns are kind of at the point where, well, we've pretty much gone 1-26 every 2 years we've hired a coach, so we might as well just stick with someone and see if he gets it going.
And it's true because Pat Shurmur was the head coach of the Browns a few years ago, and didn't do much.
I don't think,
obviously, Kyle Shanahan's job is safe. They just hired him, and they love him. And Ben McAdoo, I think he might keep his job.
It's changed the last few
Ben
weeks.
McAdoo.
I think if they keep fighting and get some good wins, he's good. But if they lose out or they lose 4 of the 5,
I think of the people, I think his job's probably the most at risk.
And I don't see Pat going for the job in Chicago that should be open.
Well, how many years has he been there?
Fox?
Yeah.
He's been there like 4.
4? Are you sure?
3?
I feel like it's at most 3.
Fox is definitely
I think that he just got a new quarterback and he's getting used to him. I think maybe they get a new offensive coordinator, but I don't think that they're going to be looking for a head coach this offseason. I think Pat Shurmur might look to get one more year of this great offense under his belt before he goes for a head coach.
Well, and that's what I was about to say right there. I think, obviously we're not talking this yet, but let's say in theory we win it all. We win the Super Bowl in Minneapolis. I think it goes then. But if we do a deep playoff run and we don't quite finish out, I think we got a good chance of keeping him because he'll want to just ride momentum and bring us to the pinnacle of the NFL.
I honestly wouldn't care if we won the Super Bowl and he left.
We would have
won the Super Bowl.
I'm good for my life.
We would have won the Super Bowl.
Done.
I can be like, go wherever the heck you want. We have a ring.
If Pat Shurmur leaving is what it takes for us to win the Super Bowl, then I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Super Bowl win would be great. Well, now it's time to look back and tell us what was the worst play? The play that was just so horrifically awful and sad by our Minnesota Vikings that just brought us all to what were they thinking? What happened there? How did that happen? What were they thinking? That was so stupid. Well, that play this week was by a 39-year-old cornerback by the name of Terrence Newman, who, the 12th man on the football field, was, well, still there when the ball got snapped. So what does he do? He goes ahead and runs with Xavier Rhodes' guy, and not only does he run with him, but he gets completely in Xavier Rhodes' way. The ball gets thrown right at them because Matthew Stafford can see that those two idiots they're not going to do anything on the ball. Ball should have been picked. But because Xavier Rhodes was so confused that Terrence Newman was there, he couldn't even have the awareness, which he usually does, to turn around and catch the ball. Terrence Newman gets in his way, then sees he catches the ball, and I don't even know what he was thinking. He didn't even try to tackle him. He just got out of bounds and just watched. And Xavier Rhodes is like, what just happened? And Marvin Jones just runs in the end zone. That accounted for almost half the yards Marvin Jones got on the day, made Xavier Rhodes look like a complete jackass, and I mean, it brought the Lions right back into the game. I do not know how Terrence Newman allowed that to happen. He's supposed to be the smart leader on our team. Just a horrifically bad, awful play by an old man who needs to retire after this year.
Which is weird, because last week we were thinking, wow, he has something left in the tank. And clearly that tank is now empty.
No, he's still good. But, Nathan, great improvement on last week. Last week's bad play of the week. Terrible play. This week, I dig it. I agree.
And as I said last week, I screwed up. I should have picked something else.
Yep.
And on last week, we said it probably should have been the field goal unit. Still a lot to be concerned there. Mike Prefer, I would be happy if he got fired this offseason. He has led one of the worst field goal units in the NFL over the last 2 years. It is time to panic about these guys. They are proving week in and week out that they will screw you over.
And we can't have that happen to us in the playoffs, because if that happens to us in the playoffs, you can miss a field goal in the regular season or two and be like, okay, you're fine. If that happened against the Philadelphia Eagles, we're probably losing that game by 6 points.
Dirk, I'm glad you bring up the Philadelphia Eagles, because I have a tiny rant I would like to go on about them.
Yes, I've been waiting.
They are so incredibly overrated. I am going to put myself on the record right now. Congratulations. You have had great offensive performances, but I think they are a lot like the Rams. To be honest, NFL schedule makers, I don't know what they were thinking this year. Their schedules are so abysmally horrible. The top 3 teams in the NFC, the Rams, the Eagles, and the Vikings, all played their hardest games in the last 6 weeks of the season. So they have created such an inflation of the records. I mean, you talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Dirk and Isaac, did you know that before this coming week, they have played only 2 teams that have a winning record at this point in the season? Only 2 teams. One of which they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. The other of which they narrowly beat the Carolina Panthers. And about the Carolina Panthers, I kind of see them as a flip side of the Chicago Bears, where the Chicago players have played a lot of close games and lost because they have a rookie quarterback who is not capable of winning games in the last minutes. The Panthers have played close games and won because their quarterback is capable of doing that, and that's what I see as the Carolina Panthers. They're good. They're not great. And that was who the other winning record team that the Eagles have played this year. Other than that, get this, they've played the Redskins 5-6, the Chiefs 6-5, that was a loss. The Giants 2-9, the Chargers 5-6, the Cardinals 5-6, the Panthers 8-3, the Redskins 5-6, the 49ers 1-10, the Broncos 3-8, the Cowboys 5-6, and the Bears 3-8. And it's important to point out that a lot of the teams they played, when they played them, were at one of the most struggling points in their season. They were struggling. They had at least one issue when they played them. I mean, you talk about the Panthers. That was when their defense wasn't doing great, and Cam was having trouble throwing the ball accurately.
The Chargers. They got the Chargers at the
Chargers. They were on a 3-game losing streak when they played them. The Chargers went 0-4 at the beginning of the season. And the Redskins, I mean, they have been kind of hot and cold all season. The Cowboys, that was right after Ezekiel Elliott's suspension. They still have not gotten that figured out. And the Bears are consistently horrible. The Broncos have just taken a complete nosedive. The 49ers, we all know what they are. The Giants are terrible too. And the Giants, when they played the Giants, we were just starting to figure out how bad they were. And I'm pretty sure that's right about Odell Beckham Jr.'s injury too. So when we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, record's great. And you look at the power rankings, right? They've been number one for so long, which honestly shocks me when you look at their strength of schedule, because the power rankings have shown numerous times that they do not care what your record is. They prove that week in and week out that the record does not matter. And yet consistently, the Eagles are still at the top. I am so sick of it. They are so incredibly overrated, and you will see that coming in the upcoming weeks when they play the first good teams they've played all season.
Nathan, glad you ranted. Nice job. You're a little out of breath there.
Yeah,
a little red. Sit down a little bit. I think you need to rest.
Angry.
But this is a spot where you and I disagree. I agree that they haven't played the best competition. Actually, there's 2 points that I want to counter here. First is that the Eagles are overrated. So I agreed that they haven't had the best wins, but I think winning consistently and winning a lot truly says a lot about your team. Because look at our schedule, Nathan. We are 9-2. We've had a few more wins over our top teams. Okay, New Orleans, great win in the beginning of the year. But then, is Baltimore 6-5 now?
Baltimore 6-5.
Technically,
nope. Wait. Yes, they're 6-5.
Technically above 500, but not by much. And then Los Angeles, we've had three games over opponents like that, and the rest weren't amazing.
Oh, we beat Detroit.
And the Detroit Lions, who have proven week in and week out.
I just think they're trash.
A comparable team.
According to
but
Packers
all I'm
fans,
saying is, I think winning matters. I think in a small sample, you can say what you're saying.
This is where I think you misdrew my point. I'm not trying to argue that. These winnings are impressive, but I'm saying these winnings are coming at a time against teams when teams are struggling. They're at some of their weakest points of the season. That is what I'm saying.
They get the Seahawks this weekend.
They have a bad team in the Browns last week. Yes. But they don't just beat them. Sorry, I meant to say the Bears, B, all these bad B teams. Anyway, they don't just beat them. They trashed the Bears.
That's my other point right there. They're playing these teams when they're bad, and they just lay it on. They have no stop. And you look at the LA Rams.
Laying it on is hard, Nathan. If we could lay it on, we would. If we could lay it on, we would have beat a team like Washington much more. Or like Cleveland much more.
You look at the LA Rams, they were doing the exact same thing. What happens the minute they play a good team? They get destroyed. We completely demolished them. They had no chance after the first half.
And I would say that same happened in New Orleans when they went to Los Angeles last week, too.
Yes. I will say, I think the separation that they've created between the Eagles and the rest of the NFC may be over the top, particularly with the Vikings. I think the Vikings deserve to be much more in the conversation. But I do think the Eagles are a very good team and probably will play for the conference championship.
I definitely think that these next few weeks will prove that the Eagles are not quite what they thought.
What's their next 3 games, Nathan?
They play, I think, the Seahawks and then the Rams, and then I think, is it the Giants?
No, I think it's, I don't know, but for example, they are getting the Seahawks at the right time too. Seahawks without Sherman and Chancellor. The Rams game will be interesting. If they destroy the Rams, then I don't think you could make the argument they're overrated anymore. Philly's a good team. I agree with Isaac. I think Philly will be in that conference title game. Does Philly win that conference title game? I don't know, because I think Minnesota's defense is good enough to go on the road and beat them. I even think New Orleans, if they force a bunch of turnovers, their defense could stop them maybe. But that's if they get turnovers. But Philadelphia, I do think is a good team. I don't think they're as good, and I don't think the separation between them and the Vikings and the Rams and all the other teams is as big as the analysts think. Like Rodney Harrison on Sunday Night Football said, the only challenge for the Eagles in the NFC is the Eagles. They can only beat themselves. That, I think, is false. I could see them losing to us. I could see them losing to maybe Los Angeles in a couple of weeks. Because it's the NFL every given Sunday. But I do think Philadelphia will be in that NFC championship.
They still have not played a quarterback who is capable of picking them apart, which their secondary, I think, is very vulnerable to.
I need to go back really quick. I forgot my second point I needed to counter Nathan on.
Oh.
Perhaps I think the most ridiculous comment he had in his little rant there. Your comment about how abysmal these schedule makers are is flat out ridiculous. And Here's why. You're looking at the schedule today, and you're looking at these schedule makers and saying they should know the rankings today, and the schedules they made should base off of that. You look at the top 4 in the NFC today: Eagles, Vikings, Saints, and Rams. Sorry, I got a little Rams and Saints. Rams won. Who would have guessed that? Who would have guessed that? My point is, there's no way that these schedule makers can know who's going to be good at the end of the year. They would think that the Seahawks and the Packers are definitely in the top 4 right now.
Time will tell who was right.
But let me continue with my rant, Nathan.
Okay.
The power rankings.
Yes, that's
what the actual hell are the Rams doing ahead of the Vikings?
I don't understand.
In ESPN.
I mean, this is literally 2 weeks after the Vikings completely shut down their offense. An offense everyone was saying could not be shut down. The Vikings shut them down. And
how many points did they get against us? What was it? 30, 20? 7 points.
And they got 0 after the opening
also
drive.
they're saying the Rams have one of the best rushing defenses. What did the Vikings do against them? They rushed for over 160 yards. You have got to be kidding me. No other power ranking made this awful mistake.
And we are calling out ESPN.
I have the rankings right here. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rankings. Have us number 3.
Smart.
Thank you.
Smart people.
On par.
Smart people.
On par.
I don't see us better than 3, so good call. Number 4. I see us at 4. I think 4 is fair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at number 4. Okay,
and honestly,
put the Steelers ahead of us.
I say that's fair because we did lose to the Steelers over.
Absolutely.
In the
Even though the
season.
Steelers struggled against a bad Green Bay team on Sunday, we'll get that in a little bit. Even though they did that, they still beat us.
Nathan and Dirk, out of the 16 power rankings, how many are worse than 4? It's 1. ESPN is the only power rankings that has us at 5.
They really have made themselves look like a bunch of
Who the works there?
Hey.
Sorry.
Dirk Umbenauer.
Sorry.
Not appropriate.
Who the fudge works there?
Okay.
Chocolate fudge.
Here's my thing. I get power rankings are hard, and it's confusing sometimes. Sure,
but they
whatever.
screwed the pooch
but
this week.
There's no like, oh, we have 6 teams to mix around to fit in the right spot. This is Vikings, Eagles, and Rams. Get them in the right order. It's Vikings, Rams, and then Eagles. We beat both of those teams. We beat
Wait,
one.
The Eagles?
Do you mean the Saints?
I messed my team up to say.
Gosh dang it.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
But the point is the same. Vikings, Saints, and Rams. It should be Vikings, Rams, and then Saints because we beat both of them.
Head-to-head
and
matchups show it. It's ridiculous. ESPN has just made them look so stupid. I don't understand. There's no version of this where the Rams should be out of the Vikings. Makes no sense.
And also, they jumped the Chargers like 8 spots into the top 10.
It might be valid because the Chiefs are terrible.
Yeah, but I don't know about Chargers being in the top 10 yet.
All right, well, it's time to look ahead to this game against the Falcons. It's going to be a tough game. Julio Jones coming off a huge game now has to face a very good quarterback in Xavier Rhodes. What are our bold predictions and game predictions for this week?
Well, my quick analysis of this football game. The Falcons have a 3-game win streak, albeit they're against teams that aren't that good besides Seattle, but Seattle's banged up. But the Falcons seem to be starting to hit a stride, possibly. Devontae Freeman may be back at running back. They have a very good running attack we have to shut down. It all comes down to, can Xavier Rhodes shut down Julio Jones? Because if he does that, we should be on our way to victory because our offense should have a good game against a decent Atlanta Falcons defense. Adrian Claiborne will not get 6 sacks. I can tell you that right now. So it's not my bold prediction. But we should be able to do enough against this Falcons defense, and if we shut down Julio Jones, we should be able to keep their offense to 14, 17 points. I think that's the key, is shutting down Julio Jones. And who had over 200 yards against Tampa Bay, we shut him down, we win.
All right, well, you've said that. What is your bold prediction and your score prediction?
Oh, my bold prediction. Okay. My bold prediction is that, let's see here. Falcons are down by 7 in the fourth quarter, 24-17, let's say. Matt Ryan's driving, throws a pick to Harrison Smith. Harry the Hitman becomes Harry the Pickman, returns it for a pick 6. Vikings win 30-14 because Kyle missed the extra point.
Okay.
Classic Kai Forman.
3-17.
All right,
That is not bold. Kai missed an extra point. It was the pick
No,
six.
Pick six is the
Yes,
pick six is the
very,
bold.
very
Pick
fun.
six is the bold.
Very fun. Hopefully that one does come to fruition. Isaac.
I am going to go on the offensive side for the Vikings this week in my bold prediction. I gotta say, I'm amazed, and this week I'm finally a little past the totally scared. I think we again show up. We prove our place in the NFC. I think we pull away with a win here. But bigger than that, I think Case Keenum, again, proves to the world that, at least for this year, he is the Vikings quarterback, and he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think Case Keenum throws for 303 scores this week, and I see the Vikings...
Wait, what?
I think Case Keenum throws for 300 yards and 3 scores this week.
Okay, you said 303 scores. You did not tell me the yards part.
I think it was
That's why I
implied
was confused.
Yeah, that was
300
implied.
is the yards.
Very bad.
But-
Well, sorry, I'm an idiot.
Yes.
But thanks, in
Apologetic.
case there were some fans that would mishear it, 300 yards, 3 scores, and I think the Vikings pull away with a 31-21 victory.
All right. Yeah, that's another. And for those of you who are wondering, Isaac does recommend you pick Case Keenum up on fantasy.
Which I did. Just waived him. Got him. I get him
I'd
tomorrow.
also like to say, please continue to vote for your Vikings players on the Pro Bowl ballot on NFL.com.
Yes, they all deserve it.
Last I checked, Harrison Smith and Everson Griffin are leading their categories, but Adam Thielen is only 5th, which is stupid. He should be right where he is in receiving yards in the NFL. 3rd. So please go vote for Adam Thielen and other Vikings.
Yes. A lot of Vikings are having good years and deserve to get in. All right, so now looking ahead, my bold prediction for this week. I think that Matt Ryan throws 3 picks in this game. 2 to Xavier Rhodes because he's so confident in Julio Jones and his ability. And Xavier Rhodes just gets the best of him. And Xavier Rhodes catches more catches on the day than Julio Jones, who only gets 1. And Xavier Rhodes gets 2. And I think that Matt Ryan learns to regret his alliance on... I think the other pick will be by our young buck, Trey Waynes.
Oh.
So I think we look ahead to 3 picks, and I think that the Vikings narrowly pull this out 30-24.
Wow. Less than a score win for Nathan this week. That is shocking.
That is
Well, I always
We
try to
have gone
predict
with-
exactly what I think will happen,
Well,
and that's
good.
what I think will happen.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, we had a long show today, but it was a fun one. We got a little angry here and there, talking about this and that.
Well, we are called Vikings Rant.
But we move ahead and we look ahead to what hopefully will be a good game against the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you again for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe and watch for any other content coming to this channel. I am Nathan Schulte,
I'm Dirk Umbenhauer.
And I'm Isaac Logman.
and this has been Vikings Rant. We'll see you next week.